Get free tech advice for your business from O2 Gurus. Search O2 Business for more.
Hey guys, welcome to BTech. It's Basil here for MWC 2015. Now the HTC M9 has just been announced, but how does it stack up against the Sony Xperia Z3, one of your favorite phones from last year? Let's find out. To recap, the Sony Xperia Z3 quad-core Snapdragon 801 5.2 inch Full HD display, nice and thin, 7.3 millimeters, waterproof body and a 20 megapixel camera, HTC One M9, a beautiful metal frame. It's a really nice evolution upon its predecessor, 5-inch display, boom sound front-facing speakers, this time with Dolby technology. On the flip side, you've got a 20 megapixel rear-facing camera, dual flash, one warm, one cool, in order to deliver great white balance. How do they stack up? Well, design-wise, both feel really nice and expensive. I feel that the HTC One M9 feels more expensive. Having all that metal around the back, it's got nice sharp edges. I say nice, it's not actually nice. I prefer holding the One M8 to the M9, but it does feel more secure, less like it's going to just slip out of my hands, because I've really got something quite sharp and edgy to hold onto. It isn't uncomfortably sharp, though we might imagine if you're holding it too long, extended phone calls, etc., it might not be the most comfortable. Interestingly, the gunmetal version, which is another color this is available in, doesn't have quite as sharp a feel. This is a pre-production unit, so that might have something to do with it, but still, definitely a mega premium feeling device. On the right hand side, you can see volume and power buttons and a nano SIM slot. Down at the base, a micro USB and a 3.5mm jack. And on the left hand side, micro SD card slot. Up at the top, infrared blaster, flip side 20 megapixel camera and that flash, as well as an NFC point. On the front, there really is an awesome front-facing camera, because HTC's taken the ultra pixel technology and whacked it on the front. You've also, like we said, got those boom sound Dolby speakers and a beautiful SLCD display, 5 inches Full HD, 441 pixels per inch. Putting that down, giving you a quick recap on the Sony Xperia Z3's design: right hand side volume rocker and a power button, as well as a micro SD and a nano SIM card slot underneath the flaps. You've also got a physical camera button, which is ace. Base, no buttons whatsoever. Left hand side, you've got a magnetic dock connector, micro USB port. Up at the top, 3.5mm jack, and on the flip side, 20 megapixel rear facing camera and flash, as well as an NFC contact point, glass front, glass back, tempered scratch resistant glass. As far as the screens go, SLCD 3 versus triluminous IPS, both very good. We love how superficial HTC's screens feel. They do feel like they pop out that little bit more than Sony's. Colors are really nice and vivid on the triluminous Sony Xperia Z3 display though. It's interesting that HTC didn't go with Quad HD for their new flagship, but we're really happy about that. If it means we get more battery life out of this phone, then Full HD all the way, especially at 5 inches, 441 pixels per inch. Really respectable PPI right there. Hell, it's better than an iPhone, for example. If we take a look inside, and you've got two very different user interfaces. We also have Lollipop on the M9. We don't have Lollipop yet on the Sony Xperia Z3. Pull down notifications tray. You've got quick toggles as well. You've got a variable number of home screens that you can swap out, and you've also got an applications tray you can customize extensively. Sony highlights, I guess PS4 Remote Play is definitely one of them. You can also change your theme pretty easily. We've got, for example, a tri-flat theme that we quite like, and we'll switch over to that. As for what HTC's done in the HTC One M9 and Sense 7, you've got blink feed to the left-hand side, and you've got a variable number of home screens again, and you can populate these with HTC widgets. You have one widget on here by default, and that's set to out and about. You can set it to work or home, and it'll actually, using a GPS, figure out where you are. And it'll change the icons or the shortcuts depending on what you use when you are where. Super smart stuff. Very similar to the lock screen cover. Some of you might have used it. You've also got a clean applications tray, as we're very used to, and you can change the grid size to 3x4 or 4x5, and you can also see our pull down notifications tray is a pretty stock Lollipop one, but you can edit out your own shortcuts. If we look at the bottom, you can also see we've actually thrown a button on here that allows us to pull down the notifications tray without having to reach to the top, which is very smart, and we're looking forward to Sense 7 rolling out on other HTC devices. There are no confirmation as of yet as to when that will happen. If we tab through on personalize, you can also see you can change or edit your theme. You can also access themes through an application right there. The themes are phenomenal because what you can do, you can actually grab a picture and you can make a theme from a picture. So this is a picture of my cat, for example, and because it's going to pick the colors from it, and we can adjust how much it picks what, it's actually created an entire theme based on Jasper. Super, super smart, really fun, and definitely something I can see myself doing, and we reckon you guys will probably enjoy it as well because it works really easily. As soon as you snap that picture, it'll actually give you an option to turn it into a theme, as you can see, and it takes pictures nice and quickly. Jump through to that picture, doesn't take too long to load the picture, and we can see themes right there. It really is as easy as that. So awesome job. You can change your theme pretty much every day without any stress whatsoever. Now that we've exacerbated that point, that really is the crux of the user interface of Sense 7. Moving on from the UI directly to the cameras, and the 20.7 megapixel sensor in the Xperia Z3 is a decent performer. It really is nice to have that physical camera button, and the user interface is flexible. You can download new modes very easily, and Superior Auto just makes a lot of decisions for you. There's a limitation to the number of manual controls on here, but having said that, you do have a shared load of other shooting modes, so if you do like tinkering, you will have a lot of tinkering to do on this thing. It does record 4K video as well as full HD. As for the HTC One M9, you have manual controls, huzzah, as you did indeed on the M8. So we can, for example, lock it down to the closest focal range for macro. You can do things like light trails, for example, and yeah, really nice macro mode to use. In addition, you've got all your standards like HDR, etc. But you also have bokeh mode. Now that HTC's dropped the duo camera, you have to manually set that blurry background mode, but it works pretty decently. We used it a couple of times, not always spot on, but none of them are ever always spot on. It really is what you can do after you take the picture that is super fun. So if we, for example, take the picture, also 20 megapixel camera, the digital zoom is heaps better than on the HTC One M8, obviously, even though low light performance unfortunately is not. As you can see, pretty decent camera just so long as your lighting is good. You can edit your pictures to high heavens though, do some really fun stuff with them. So if I tap through on the effects button, I can do something called double exposure. Everyone knows what a double exposure is, but if I want to double expose this with a picture of my cat, Jasper, we can have Jasper Xperia Z3 right there. And it's just silly little things, and a lot of people will find this absolutely useless and will never use it, but you can get a lot of fun out of this. Face fusion in particular is one that we found very fun. It grabs two faces and it fuses them together, and that's all post-processing. What you can also expect from the camera is 4K video recording, just like with the Sony Xperia Z3. Both of these phones also have double tap to wake. That's one thing that we didn't mention. As far as the specs go, Qualcomm Snapdragon 810 processor with 3GB RAM, Qualcomm Snapdragon 805 processor with 3GB of RAM. Expect very similar performance, i.e. very smooth, and no games are really going to pose a threat to either of these, but you do have 64-bit architecture in the HTC One M9, as well as an octa-core chipset. You've also got the capacity to have up to Cat 9 LTE in certain regions, so if you're in the UK, it'll be Cat 6 with EE's network. Hopefully other networks will catch up on that soon for those very zippy download speeds on the go. But that ultimately has been a comparison between the Sony Xperia Z3 and the HTC One M9, all but one feature, and that is battery life. 2840 milliamps on the HTC One M9 versus 3100 milliamps. The Sony Xperias have always led the way in terms of battery since the Z2 really. So we reckon the Sony Xperia Z3 and HTC One M9 won't quite be neck and neck, but hopefully the HTC One M9, with all the performance enhancements and the battery saving modes that Qualcomm will have hopefully implemented to the Snapdragon 810, will come through, and these will have comparable battery lives. Make sure you check out our full review of the HTC One M9 when we get one in for more confirmation on that though. But first impressions alone, we're really impressed with what HTC has done here. They've taken a good design and they've made it just a little bit better. They've thrown really great specs on here in terms of the hardware, but they've held back on the screen to give us what we need and not useless technology that will hopefully deliver better battery life and smoother performance. Also, again, like we said, improvements to Sense 7 do get a thumbs up from us, even if low light performance on that rear camera doesn't blow out power mines. Hopefully you enjoyed our comparison. If you did, click that like button. If you like BTech in general, subscribe and stay tuned to this channel for a lot more from MWC 2015. Thanks for watching.